In the shadowed heart of Haverford Hall, a Victorian-era girls' seminary perched on the cliffs of Cornwall like a stern governess overlooking the restless sea, librarian Beatrice unearthed the Oculus Codex from a false shelf in the restricted alcove. Its leather binding stamped with an eye that seemed to wink when the gaslight flickered. The book, dated 1873, cataloged not literature but gazes, stolen glances between pupils and masters' envious stares across dormitory bunks, the unblinking vigil of portraits that hung too high to scrutinize. As Beatrice traced a finger along an entry for Miss Lydia's shadowed adoration, the page warmed beneath her touch, and from the stacks behind her a soft rustle stirred like silk skirts brushing floorboards long rotted away. She dismissed it as drafts from the cliffside gales, but that night, in her quarters above the reading room, sleep brought dreams of eyes multiplying in the dark, hundreds peering from keyholes, reflecting her own face twisted in unspoken yearnings she'd buried since girlhood. Haverford had closed its doors in 1891 after the Veiled Scandal, when headmistress Eleanor Voss locked the senior class in the library for a week of penitent reading, to find them at liberation with eyelids sewn shut by threads from their own embroidery samplers, mouths murmuring verses from forbidden romances. Beatrice, a scholar of forgotten pedagogies funded by a dubious antiquarian society, had come to digitize the remnants, her scanner humming like a hive as she captured yellowed primers and lace-trimmed journals. The codex, however, defied technology. Photos of its pages emerged blurred as if the eyes within recoiled from capture. By midday, the portraits in the main hall began to shift, gazes following her progress, painted pupils dilating when she paused to consult her notes. One, depicting Voss herself, whispered as Beatrice passed, "See me, child, see what you desire." Curiosity morphed to unease as evening fell, the sea's roar muffled by thickening fog that pressed against the leaded windows like curious faces. Beatrice returned to the alcove, the codex open to a fresh inscription in her own looping script. Beatrice Hale, gaze lent to the veiled interest in the forbidden. Her reflection in the oak table showed eyes not her own, Lydia's perhaps, wide with the ache of unrequited affection for a groundskeeper long dismissed. The rustles multiplied, footsteps in empty aisles, and when she wheeled to confront them, shadows coalesced into silhouettes of girls in high-necked frocks, their faces blank save for eyes that burned like candle flames, reciting her private diaries. The crush on her thesis advisor, the voyeuristic thrill of spying on doormates in her university days, the lingering stare at the society patron whose funding came with leering expectations. "We watch what you watch," they chorused, lashes fluttering in unison. Flight seemed futile. The library's doors sealed with spectral frost, brass handles icing to the touch. Beatrice barricaded in the map room, maps of Cornwall unrolling to reveal not coastlines but webs of sightlines, gazes intersecting like spider silk, pinning her position. The codex thumped against the barricade, pages flipping autonomously to rituals Voss had enacted, bindings stolen looks to the oculus, a crystal orb hidden in the dome to harvest the school's simmering repressions, fueling a curriculum of controlled desires that bordered on the carnal. The girls of 91, driven mad by enforced chastity, had turned the spell inward, their sewn eyes becoming eternal sentinels, jealous of the living's freedom to look and love. Beatrice's own gaze betrayed her now. Mirrors cracked to show alternate lives. Her advisor's bed, the patron's yacht, temptation scripted in the codex's margins. Dawn clawed through the grime, but the eyes persisted, blooming on walls like fungal growths, irises contracting as she moved. In desperation, she scaled the spiral staircase to the dome, the orb pulsing like a heart in the apex, refracting the trapped gazes into rainbows of regret. Touching it, visions flooded Voss's final lecture, pupils' needles pricking not fabric but flesh, sealing lids as a chorus of "See No More" echoed. Beatrice smashed the oculus with her scanner, shards exploding in a cascade of liberated stares, eyes floating free, swarming her like midges, forcing her to witness every buried glance of her life in relentless montage. She staggered down, doors unwarding at last, fleeing to the cliffs where the sea swallowed the school's silhouette. Months later, Beatrice publishes her sanitized report, eyes averted from colleagues' faces, contact lenses a constant shield. But in quiet libraries, when volumes shift on shelves, she feels the weight, a gaze not her own, lingering, waiting for the next stolen look to bind. Tucked in the pine-hemmed valleys of the Adirondacks, Elmwood Finishing School for Young Ladies stood as a timbered bastion against the wilds since 1865, its dormitory wings sprawling like the arms of a jealous lover embracing the forest's edge. Archivist Theo unearthed the Vow Vault beneath the east wing's warped floorboards, an iron strongbox etched with interlocking rings, containing not letters but oaths. Whispered promises between roommates, pacts of eternal friendship sealed with blood-pricked fingers. Vows of silence over shared secrets that curdled into curses. As he pried the lid, a faint echo reverberated through the hollow. I swear, by the roots in the rain, never to leave. Theo, chronicling the school's shuttering in 1923 after the packed plague, attributed the sound to settling beams. But that twilight, as shadows lengthened like accusing fingers, the dormitory stirred with footsteps too light for memory, giggles muffled behind doors long unhinged. Elmwood's fall came swift, a dormitory fever that claimed 20 boarders in a fortnight, their bodies found entwined in bunk beds, wrists bound by friendship bracelets woven from their own hair, lips blue from kisses that wouldn't cease. Theo, on sabbatical from a crumbling community college, sought the vault for his monograph on adolescent arcana, his trowel clinking against relics amid the dust, porcelain dolls with stitched mouths, diaries, and ciphers of hearts and daggers. The vows, however, spoke plainly upon exposure to air, ink bleeding upward as if gasping. Theo Grant, sworn to the roots, echo of the left behind. Sleep in the caretaker's cottage brought no respite. Dreams of bunk bed vigils, girls braiding fates in the witching hour, their packs invoking the forest's sylvan spirits to bind the betrayers. Morning mist cloaked the grounds as Theo resumed, the vault yielding more. Ribbons stained crimson, a locket pulsing with a lock of hair that matched his own auburn shade. The echoes grew bolder, phrases overlapping in a dormitory dirge. Stay with us, Theo, the rain remembers. Desks in the common room rearranged into circles, chairs rocking gently as if occupied by invisible weights, and when he sat to transcribe, the table etched with his ex-fiancee's name, Clara, who left for the city lights, followed by vow broken, roots reclaim. Panic flickered. Elmwood's plague stemmed from a founding rite, Headmistress Ida Blackwood's sister's covenant, compelling pupils to vow undying loyalty, the forest as witness, to forge unbreakable bonds against the world's coarseness. Betrayals! A girl eloping, another tattling on midnight feasts triggered the sylvan backlash, vines choking throats, roots entwining limbs until the pact was honored in death. By noon, the wings came alive, doors creaking open to reveal beds unmade for decades, linens folding themselves into nooses of lace. Theo fled to the vault site, but the floorboards knit shut, trapping his boot as whispers pulled. Echo our vows, brother. Bind your Clara back. Visions assailed. His own proposal under Adirondack pines, the ring she'd slipped off in a subway glare, now manifesting as thorny brambles coiling his ankles. The girls appeared then, translucent in nightgowns, braids unraveling into serpents, hands extended in mock embrace. Swear it, Theo. Neverleaf. Their touch ignited memories not his. Dormitory whispers turning to wails, packs sealing with sap that hardened to amber, encasing the faithless in eternal sisterhood. He wrenched free, axe from the tool shed swinging wild, splintering beams to expose the vault's core, a yawning pit veined with glowing fungi, roots pulsing like veins. Hacking deeper, he struck the heartwood idol Ida had buried, its carved faces splintering in a chorus of shattered oaths. The echoes peaked, a hurricane of I swear, winds uprooting pines outside, then silence, the forest exhaling as if relieved. Theo emerged at dusk, the dormitory sagging further, but as he drove the winding roads, his rear view held not asphalt but bunk shadows, Clara's face overlaid with theirs, mouthing return the vow. In city archives, Theo shelves his half-finished book, avoids entanglements, fingers tracing phantom braids in his hair. Yet on rainy nights, when the radiator hisses, he hears the echo, soft, insistent, stay with us. The roots remember you left. Atop the arid mesas of New Mexico, under skies unmarred by light's betrayal, Starhaven Academy's observatory crowned the campus like a cyclopean eye, gazing heavenward. Built in 1889 to teach astronomy to the daughters of railroad magnates. Astronomer Lena discovered the astral ledger in the refractor's pedestal, a brass-bound tome whose constellations were not celestial but pilfered, stars charted as souls, twinkling names of pupils who'd ascended during late-night vigils as their essences siphoned to fuel the school's prophetic curriculum. As she adjusted the lens, a meteor streaked unnaturally close, and from the dome's copper seams a sigh escaped like wind through a punctured lung. Return what was taken. The night demands its due. Lena, grant-funded to restore the derelict domes for a planetarium revival, blamed the sigh on thermal contraction. But as stars wheeled overhead that cloudless eve, her telescope focused not on Andromeda, but on a face, her mother's, long deceased, winking from the void. Starhaven shuttered in 1914 amid the eclipse epidemic. When observance collapsed mid-session, eyes vitrified like fused silica, bodies rigid as if grasping for comets that never return. Lena's crew had long departed, leaving her alone with the scopes, her laptop charting declinations amid the creak of wind-battered struts. The ledger defied scans, entries shimmering. Lena Torres, star borrowed from the mesa, debt to the void. Dreams that night spun galaxies of eyes, maternal gazes pulling her upward, whispers cataloging her celestial sins, the telescope she'd aimed at neighbors' windows in youthful curiosity, the horoscopes she'd faked for classmates' heartbreaks, the stargazing date where she'd wished a rival's light extinguished. Dawn painted the desert gold, but the observatory hummed with interference, dials spinning to align on forbidden coordinates. Lena climbed the catwalk, ledger in hand, its pages flipping to rituals of director Harlan Voss. Yes, kin to Haverford's, Elmwood's shadows linking in occult nepotism, binding girls' aspirations to the stars, harvesting their dreams to predict market booms for patrons. The ascended becoming eternal beacons. The 1914 eclipse overloaded the right, pupils' souls rebelled, eclipses manifesting as voids in the living sight. As noon baked the tin roof, the dome eerie's open unbidden, stars visible in daylight. A portal? And the sigh swelled to a stellar chorus. See us, Lena. Chart your fall. Fleeing to the control room, she found star maps redrawn with her trajectory, a meteor arc ending in mesa dust. The faces emerged then, projected on the dome's interior, girls in bloomers and starched veils, eyes milky orbs trailing comet tails, reciting her ephemeris. The grant proposal inflated with Vios lineage lies, the mother's deathbed wish for brighter stars, twisted into accusation. We shine for you now, they intoned, light bending to form lassos of aurora, yanching her toward the refractor's maw. Touching the ledger, visions cascaded, Harlan's incantations under lunar eclipse, needles pricking fingers to dot constellations with blood. The epidemic's wails as souls streaked free, blinding the binders. In frenzy, Lena overloaded the generators, arcs of electricity spidering the dome, shattering the pedestal. The ledger ignited, pages curling to ash that swirled upward, stars raining in reverse. Meteors inward, pulling the bound with them in shrieks of re-entry. The dome slammed shut, observatory plunging to Stygian black, but as power flickered back, Lena's reflection in the lens held extra eyes, familial and furious. She descended the mesa at speed, skies clearing to indifferent blue. Now, in urban observatories, Lena lectures on lost lights, scopes averted from deep space, contacts dimming her peripheral. But on clear nights when city glow fades, she feels the tug, a stolen star pulsing in her chest, whispering, "Chart me home." The void's due eternally deferred.